So everyone should be able to see my screen. I have a screen up. We have the content editor talk. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the content editor. And remember, this is going to be published on our YouTube site. So we will have this published on our YouTube site after I'm finished, after we are finished. We're going to talk about the content editor. What happens is I get questions for support issues in that, and I bring them up in the webinars. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. And we're also going to talk about visualizing clearances. We get a number of people asking about visualizing clearances. Other software does it. Substation Design Suite has design checks. That is a preferred method, but we will talk about visualizing clearances. We're going to be going for about 40 minutes. We are recording, right?
Yes, we are. And I also published on the question and answers the number if somebody wants to dial in.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do visualizing clearances. We're going to be about 40 minutes, and we'll have an open Q&A at the back on the end of the webinar. If I see a question come through, I will try to answer it, but I may not notice them all coming through. And again, the video will be posted on Spatial Business Systems YouTube site. So who's talking here is Steve Kaufman. You can contact me here. Here's my email. And if you have any support issues, please email SDS support at Spatial Biz. That's the quickest way to get support. It will come to me and 3 others, so that there gets to ample number of people. I think it's the quickest way to get through. The other thing we want to talk about is just some notes here. If you follow Spatial Business Systems on LinkedIn, you will see updates on Spatial Business Systems, including Substation Design Suite. You'll get that information right away, that method. You can also follow Spatial Business Systems on YouTube. You can subscribe to the YouTube account. By subscribing, you will see when this video will be posted. Further, we can follow on videos and documents on the SDS website. So once you go on the SDS website, there's a following button to go on there. So if I open up my SDS website, I want to make sure everyone has this, that when a document gets updated, it will go to and send a email to you directly. So I come in Substation Design Suite, and I come in my physical support documents. There is a follow button here. By using this follow button, it will email you if a new document came out. So if you have that following now, you would have got that this new document has been posted on Substation Design Suite. And it's notes on how to reduce the model size. So a lot of times people get a step file in from a vendor or something, and the file is huge. It talks about methods of doing this. It does not use the direct edit. Direct edit isn't the best way of doing it. I would prefer if people would follow this. This is talking about using the tools of Inventor to do it, and it steps you through. The main tools is using the BIM Simplify tools. These are the tools you want to use. And we got remove details, fill voids. So I would follow this method to reduce it. Here's an example of a CCVT. It came from the vendor. It was 76 megabytes, right? That's huge. And we're able to reduce it to 3 megabytes. This fitting was 6 megabytes coming in, and we reduced it to 600 kilobytes, so 0.6 of megabyte, just by doing some of this work. You can fix the orientation as well as the reducing the fillets and the filling voids. You can do all of that with this. So I posted this up. I would love to get feedback on it. I can tweak it if needed, and it is here. So if you hit the follow button, you know that this came in. So you only need to hit the follow button on the top page of the documents and in the physical help videos. If you come in any of these titles, you can hit follow. Any of the titles have it. General information as well, follow. You can do that. What I want to talk about is import and export of our databases to our databases. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the import and export tools. So these tools came out about 2 revisions ago. I'm not getting feedback that people are necessarily using them, so I want people to use them. I want people to use them. I was just reading the comments here. So we want that to be used. So I have the notes here. We're going to step through this a little bit, and we're going to come into Inventor. I have Inventor open, and we can come in and we can look at our above grade tools, and we can look at our documents and what is available. If you look, I'm actually using a beta version of Substation Design Suite where we're listing both the part number and the description in our pull downs. This is a beta version. This should be released this spring. I hope it's released this spring. I'm just testing it now. But we want to be able to change this very easily. And that's what we're doing with the import export tools. So I'll come into my content editor. Let's minimize this a bit. So we have our content editor. If you haven't seen the content editor, there is documents on it on our website on how to get it open, how to get it working. But I come into my bare cable. I have my bare cable information in here. And what we want to do is be able to edit this easily. So what we want to do, we can export this data. If I export this data, it will come into a CSV file. Presently, a CSV file is nice just because the way it handles the data, other than a pure Excel file, it has to stay as a CSV file. So I'm going to just type in cable example. So I've just put in a cable example. You can save your CSV files, edit them, and bring them back. So that's the key thing here. So I'm going to hit save on that. And what this is going to do, it's going to come right up into our CSV file. From here, we can use all the find, replace, spell check, whatever we need to change our data in here. So let's say we have that data, we fiddled with it. I'm going to close this. I don't need to save that one. I'm going to come in here and we're going to look at some of the other ones that I have already made. So this is what we can do. We can have our different examples we can have in here. So I got a cable clearance BOM export CSV. So I'm going to open this one. I can make edits to it in the CSV file. And we can have that information in here. So I can make my edits. I can do a find, replace, and clean this up. And then I can bring it in directly into my work area. So if we come into cable with clearances, bus custom, bus clearance, cable example. So we can bring this data in. Let's go back up to cable with clearances. So you can see we have that data. So I can bring that data directly in. I can come back into my content editor. I can import, and I'm going to pick the import I want. So I want cable with clearances. I can open that up and add that information in here. Oh, I have it open. I have to have it closed to bring it in. I'm sorry, guys. Good example there. So I come up my bare cable, import from CSV, and I can import that data directly from my cable with clearances here. And now I have that data. Okay, so I can close this. I can come back into my cable with clearances. I can do some edits. So I can come in here, I can go custom A. So I'm adding some custom I properties. I got to have custom I properties in my table inside of Inventor as inside of the content editor as well. Custom B, and I'm going to add data in here, right? And I can come in and clean up my spelling. Who spells like that? So I'm going to come in, I can pull this data down. I can do a find replace if I want to find replace. If I want to clean up something in here I don't like, I'm going to do a find and replace. Let's go find, replace. Let's go with MCM. Well, here, let's take this data out of here. We'll copy this out and clean that up. So sometimes you're going to have something in there that you want to clean out through all of your data. And I want to just change that to space MCM. And most everyone knows that how to use find replace, and we can clean up that data. I save the data, I can come back. And before I come back, I just want to point out that we can add I got the clearance yellow, I have the colors, I'm changing the sizing of items. The other thing I want to point out is down the classification column, we don't want to change this name, it's dedicated to this table. So we want to keep this table, the classification column, the same. The ID column, we want to keep it integers, we want that available. So that's what I was talking about in the in here. What we want to do is we want the ID column to be integers and should be unique to the component type. Classification column should not change, and that's what we're looking at here. So we come in here, I made my changes, I've cleaned it up somewhat. I'm going to hit save, close, and now I can come into my content editor, come into my bare cable, I can import from the one I just changed. And now I have that data. And I should have those custom I properties in here now too, right? So you're able to bring that in quite easily in and out. If I have the bus one, if I want to update my bus, I can come down to my round bus, import from CSV. I'm going to import my round bus. I got bus with clearance. I'm going to bring that in here as well. I don't have any items in here, but you can see I have the information being brought in. So the idea here, what I want to point out is that when you import it, you can have saved CSV files that you can bring in directly.
And we have a couple questions as well, Steve.
Oh, I didn't see. When adding to the CSV, do you have to create an ID or will it assign ID? You have to create an ID. It just needs to be an integer. So you can just copy it down actually if you just follow that method. So if I come into my CSV file, you do that autofill. So I can scroll down. I can just do an autofill. If I was adding more, I can just come in like that. Easy as that. Can you edit what displays in the drop down from the toolbar in Inventor? Can you edit what displays in Inventor? So what displays in the drop down in here? I'm assuming here, Curtis. So if I want to change the sorting, I can change the sorting by changing the sorting by part number if I want. It's going to sort by part number, or I can sort by description, and it's going to sort by description. So that's all we have here right now. But right now we're looking at part number in the descriptions are the two main fields for people to find what they're looking for. The other thing I want to talk about is the clearance checks and the visualizing clearance as well. So I'm going to bring up a video for that. It was a bit of a time to set it all up. So I did a video in this example. So I want to come in here. I'm going to run my video. Before I get it going, I'm going to shut off and get the video sound coming across. So I'm going to just turn this off and turn it back on again. Here we are with Substation Design Suite, and what we're going to do is visualize electrical clearances using out-of-the-box SDS Physical for Inventor tools. We've had a high number of new users for Substation Physical, and there have been many requests to visualize electrical clearances. What is being shown here is a simple out-of-the-box method of implementing a visual check of those clearances. SPS recommends using the SDS Design Checks tool for electrical clearance checks. The SDS tool is more accurate, and users are able to generate a report of the results with a clear indication of pass or fail. Okay, so let's get into it. What we have here is some visualized clearances shown. We have a blue one up here, which is showing I don't know what diameter right now. I think it's 12 feet diameter. Showing a 12-foot diameter tube around here, and that would be a mechanical clearance possibility. Down here, we have two other clearances. We have the orange one, which would be the phase-to-phase clearance. So what we're looking at is a radius around here, creating a radius based on the voltage here. We have the same one here on the low side, and of course, it's a smaller radius or diameter. Same as the green one. The green one is more like a phase to ground check. So we're looking at that, and we have the green one down here. And you can see they come in down here. We can see and we can visualize what's happening down here as well. You'll notice that one is transparent and one is opaque, and that's the way I just wanted to show it today. You can choose whichever way you want it. It's all configurable, of course, because we're just using normal Substation Design Suite tools. To get into how we place this one here, this is actual piece of bus, and these down here are pieces of cable. So I'm using the bus and cable tools. So when I come into my settings, I can come down here and scroll through my cables, and at the bottom, I've placed some clearance ground based on the bill number, and I show the radius of what I am placing. If I come into the bus, I'm doing the same thing. I'll scroll to the bottom, and I'm doing the same thing. So I've added this information into the menu, into the database, the Substation Design Suite database. So if we look at the database, come in here, you can read the content editor document on how to manipulate your database. We can see the database here. You can see where I've edited at the bottom. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. What I've done is added a name. So this is a name just for SDS purposes, but we have the title, that's an iProperty. We have the description iProperty. We have the part number iProperty. And I've identified them based on the BIL, the bill, as well as the radius and diameter. So they're easy to find in the bill of material. The remaining material, of course, is just default. Doesn't matter what the material is. Key thing here is the orange, green, the blue. What we want to do is color it so we can see what it is and have meaningful colors to it. Any color you choose in here, you must have in your template model. Down over here, I put the size of the diameter. And of course, I put the units behind it. The units are important. You must have units here. And then, of course, the rest is default. So that's how we've selected up and added that to the database. So let's go in and we'll put some of these in. I'm going to come into my low side, my bay. I'll open it up, and we'll take a look at it. I'm going to delete one, and I'm going to delete this one. So like I said, these are two bus pieces. I'm going to zoom in on it a bit. I'll come up to my above grade tools, come up to my settings, bus, and I'm going to pick, this is a high side, so it's going to be a high bill, and I want clearance to the phase. So here's my high bill phase clearance. So I'm going to select that one. I'm going to have an offset. I'm going to offset one side 31 inches and the other side, well, I guess it could be 31. I'll put them both at 31 and hit save because that is the radius we need. So now we're going to put in our pieces of bus. I'm going to come up to cylindrical surfaces and I'll pick my bus, and I'm going to pick cylindrical surfaces from left side to right side. I'm going to put the bend at the end. I find it better to put the bend at the end, and I'll come down here to that bend. And with that, we should have this, and I'll hit enter and place that tube. And with that, we have our coverage. I'm going to change that to the other setting for the phase to ground. We'll do it again. So we'll look at the phase to ground, which is this one, and it's only a 25-inch radius, so I'm going to change it to 25-inch radius. Well, a 25-inch offset, I should say, based on the radius. It doesn't have to be that. Whatever works for you is what you're going to use. So I'm going to have that spacing. I'll pick my cylindrical surface. Pick a cylindrical surface, and I'm going to end down here at that fitting. So we'll place the ground one as well. Come over here, we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to add the same idea. We're going to use the bus tool to place this in. I'm going to pick from left to right because it works better if I'm going to bend down to something like this to do it in that manner. I'll come up to my settings. I'll change my bus over to the low side phase one, which is a 12-inch diameter. So I'm going to put 12 in here. And I think if I look at what I'm doing, the extension over to here, I should add a little bit to that to show that I'm extending it. But if I took a measurement, maybe we could have an accurate number here, but I'm going to put in 20 for now because we're going to work from this side over. I'm going to have the offset a little bit longer down there. I'll hit save. I'll have my cylindrical surface. I'm going to pick this cylindrical surface here. There's always a cylindrical surface somewhere to pick. And I'll come down to this point here. And there's my run. I'm going to pick it as a little bit longer offset on the left side. And you can see it places it quite nice. I'm going to do the same thing with the ground side, and then we'll put in some cables. So let's go to the bus. We'll do the same thing with the low BIL. I'm going to leave it 20 on this side, but on this side I'm going to add 7. Save. It will do the same thing. We'll pick those same points. We're going to pick the same points, and we're going to have the different types of radius and overshoots. And there it is. So that's just placing bus. It works quite nice that way. What we want to do now is we're going to use the cable tool. And remember, when we're using bus and cable tools, we have the update, the edit. We have all those tools available to us still. So down here, I'm going to come in. I'm going to place it coming down here, down to this one. So I want I'll come into my cables. I'll scroll down. And I want the low bill phase. So that's going to be the orange one. It's a 12-inch, and I'll hit save. I got 0 sag. And I'm going to pick the same thing. I'm going to pick cylindrical surfaces. I'm going to come down from up here. I want a little more continuous run. I'm going to come from up here. I'm going to come down, just make sure I got a straight run coming down. That's all I'm trying to do with those 2 picks. I'm going to go through the spacer here, and then I'll come down to the top of the bushing. This should give me a decent coverage for that cable. Okay, so we have that cable covered with a clearance. We'll do the same thing with the green one, the ground one. We'll come up to settings, we'll change our BIL to the low BIL for the green, 7-inch radius, and save. And basically we are going to pick those same points. So cylindrical surfaces again. I come up here. I'll come down here to my next cylindrical surface. I'm going to get that nice straight line. I want to make sure I go through the spacer, and I'm going to hit the top of the bushing. And there, that's what I have. So I have those cylindrical surfaces in here. So they're all placed. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to look at the bill of material of this. If you recall, when we looked at the data, we had title and description in there. So let's see what we get when we look at our bill of material. Here you can see we have title in our bill of material. Let's go over to structured. I have title in the bill of material. I'm going to make sure I sort on title. And we can come down and we can see our clearance pieces in here. So anytime we want to see them, we can identify them easily in our bill so that they don't get mixed up with other items. What we'd want to do too is come into the model data, and we want to find those same items. They're under clearance, and we may want to change these all to phantom parts, right? So we'll change them to phantom parts. These are all listed as normal. So we can double click in here and change them to phantom if we wanted to. And that way we won't have them in our bill of material. So I'll come up here, see if I can copy and paste. Copy, Control C, and Control V, Control V. And I've just copied it, and I'm able to change them all to phantom parts. I don't want anyone buying that clearance item. And I can say done and save. So once it's saved, what we're going to do is we'll look at a drawing. So we're going to open up the drawing for this. I've created a drawing real quick. So we have our clearance checks. We can view them in a drawing. We can look at them. And with that, we're done. Okay, so that was my video on the clearance checks. What I neglected to mention is we can use the interference check, the normal Inventor method of checking the interference between one item and another. We can take questions if there are questions. It's an idea of what we can do, and if that is a requirement or if that's something people want to show, I think it's a way to do it. If it's a demand, I can see it as a way to bring it in with other tools, a more seamless type of method. I think it's all doable. I'm looking for questions. If we have any questions, I can offer them. We had a question from Mark about the header values of the custom I properties. So when we imported the custom I properties, let's bring that up again. If I have my custom I properties, they are custom A and B. If I have a different name in there, I'm not sure how it's going to act. So we can do that right now as a test. I'll come into my custom I properties. I'm going to delete B and put in new one. We'll add it in there. Done. And we'll save that. And we'll import from CSV. I'm in cables, so let's see what's in the cable example. I can't remember if I had custom I properties in there. Okay, let's import. Let's see, test cable clearances. I need one with cable. Yeah, see, here we go. So source contains a column B. If you wish to have this I prop, please add it before you import. Okay, so we need the custom, the headers are dependent on what is in the CSV file. Any other questions, concerns? So I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. I'm going to mention, though, that we are working on an update. It should be an update coming out this spring. I have the one of the beta, the first beta out right now. Doesn't have all of the changes, but I did show you the one with selecting cables. If there's no other questions, we can end it early. Any comments are welcome. You can email me as well. So it'll be published on the YouTube site and shortly after this is completed, maybe tomorrow, maybe this week. Can the clearances be defaulted to phantoms? Not presently defaulted to phantoms. If this is a requirement or a request, if we get the consortium saying, hey, we want to see this more, I believe we could do something along that line. But until then, I'm just using the normal SDS methods to show this. You can also use the interference checks. I might mention that already. If we use the interference checks, we can use that as well to look at both of these. So if I come into visualize clearances, let's open this up. So I have the clearances here. I can come in here and I can actually come in and use the inspect tool, analyze interference between this item. Oh, let's change my selection set to part. Analyze interference, treat subassemblies as components. No. Should be able to select individual items. So maybe I got to go down into the bay because it's in the bay. All right, let's try the interference check here. So tools, inspect, analyze interference, and interference with this. Second set is going to be this. And there's no interferences detected. If there is an interference, it will come up with data. If I look at maybe these two, so define set 1, define set 2, and I say OK. It shows that there is an interference right at the very bottom here, and it gives me results as well. So again, this is just normal Inventor, normal SDS methods to show this. I would recommend for proper clearance checks, the Design Checks tool will do that properly. It will give you a report, and you can use that report to have a record of your check. In this method of showing these tubes, the only report you have is what you show on your drawings. Okay, so we will post this in a matter of hours or days, depending, it'll probably be this week, and have a good weekend. It's a long weekend for some, and we'll end it here. Thank you.